So far, I've taken a 37% hit, but I've still outperformed TQQQ by 18%. Hey everyone, welcome to Million Dollar SIP, where I'm documenting my real-time journey of growing my portfolio from $0 to $1 million in 10 years using a hybrid SIP strategy. Today is day 34, and I'll take you through my investment decision, trade execution, and performance update. But before that, a quick disclaimer. This channel serves as my personal investment journal and is not financial advice. So always do your own research before investing. TQQQ is a high-risk ETF and investing a large amount at once is extremely risky. So I personally follow a SIP approach with strict risk management to navigate volatility. Now let's get on with today's update. There was no need to check whether we were in an uptrend or downtrend today. After yesterday's bloodbath, it was quite evident that the market was still deep in a downtrend. Based on that, my daily investment range remains fixed between $200 to $250 following my rule-based system. So as per strategy, I switched to the 5-minute time frame to look for an ideal entry point. As expected, TQQQ opened below the 12 EMA and around 10 AM, it bounced back above the 12 EMA, triggering my entry signal. At that point, the price was hovering around $45. So to stay within my investment limit, I adjusted the number of units. So instead of buying my usual 4 units, I added one more and bought 5 units at $45.65, bringing the total investment to $228. So that's exactly how my strategy works. I increase the number of units as prices go lower, but still make sure I remain within my set daily investment gap. Now, coming to today's market environment, the section opened under the shadow of major geopolitical news. China retaliated against Trump's new tariffs, a 10% baseline plus an additional 34% on Chinese goods. So China slapped a punishing 34% tariff on all US imports effective April 10. But that wasn't all. They also announced export controls on rare earth minerals and blacklisted several US tech firms. This retaliation directly targeted American agriculture and the technology sector, and the shockwaves were immediate. TQQQ opened today with a sharp gap down of 8.60%, and the selling pressure only intensified throughout the session. By the close, it had dropped to $41, marking a brutal 18% decline, even worse than yesterday's steep fall. Based on my technical analysis, there's still potential for further downside. I believe TQQQ could fall another 15 to 25% from current levels before finding meaningful support. As I always emphasize, gaps tend to be filled, especially when they occur during periods of panic selling. So while the current trend is bearish, I expect the price to eventually bounce back to fill the gap and then resume the downtrend or potentially reverse altogether. Whether we see a reversal or continuation of the downtrend will largely depend on how the trade war narrative evolves over the next few days. News and sentiment around that will drive the next major move. By the end of the trading session, the S&P 500 had plunged 5.97%, the Nasdaq 100 dropped 6.07%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average cratered nearly 2,000 points, a roughly 4.9% decline, wiping out weeks of gains in a day. Traders called it a bloodbath. Apple tumbled 7.29%, hammered by its dependence on Chinese manufacturing, while Nvidia fell 7.36%, reeling from potential chip production disruptions. Farmers faced renewed losses, companies scrambled to rethink supply chains, and the market's rout erased billions in value, highlighting the steep cost of the escalating trade war. Now, let's take a look at today's portfolio performance. So far, my total investment stands at $7,609 with 117 units of TQQQ in my holdings. At the end of today's session, TQQQ closed at 41.09, bringing the market value of my portfolio to $4,807. My average cost per unit is currently 65.03, which means I'm sitting on a net loss of $2,802, translating to a 37% decline. Since I started this investment journey, TQQQ has dropped by 55%, but my portfolio has declined by only 37%. This means I've successfully outperformed TQQQ by 18% so far. So that wraps up day 34 of my investment journey. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along to see how this journey unfolds. See you in the next video.